Okay, everybody, welcome to Module 2 of the Empowered Business Program. So hopefully already in Module 1, you're starting to get a deeper understanding of ultimately what are you looking to create and who are you looking to create it for. And as I said so many times in the first module, if we can focus more on service instead of selling, naturally the sales will occur. If we can focus on not what we can get from a situation or a person, but rather what we can give. We focus on giving value, value comes back. So we're going to explore this a little bit more today. We're really going to start to go into a little bit more of looking at who is that ideal niche or that ideal client, that target market that we're looking to work with. Because when we're speaking to everyone, we're speaking to no one. So today what we're going to do is we're going to delve even deeper into that. We're going to even peel back some more layers, even chunk down even more so that we can even understand to the deepest level the people that we're working with, their value system, and ultimately what are some of the deepest problems that this person is facing, not only just on a daily, weekly basis, but a cyclical basis. And what are some of the things that we can almost predict that this target market is going to come up against in the next 5 years, next 10 years, so that we can actually start to journey with that target market as well. And I think this is the big difference, because ultimately people want a couple of different things when it comes to wanting to purchase from you. First and foremost, they have to trust you, because you can have the most amazing product, the most amazing service, you can have all the reviews, you can have all of that, but if someone doesn't trust you and your company, they're not going to do business with you. It's as simple as that. So first and foremost, how can we build not just trust, but dare I say, deep rapport with the people that we're looking to attract into our marketplace? And then we need to really understand the person at a really deep level, because people want to feel like they're understood. They don't want you to just, communicate with them, whether it be on the phone, a message, or email, where they just feel like they're not being understood, that you don't really understand their situation. You're not really looking at their needs and where they're at the moment. And people don't care what you know, but they remember how you make them feel. So how can we make sure that the experience that we give people is one not just of high value, but one where the customer is feeling like they've been understood, that they're valued, and that essentially you are going to be the best person for them, because they feel like you are going to nurture them through that process. When you do this well in business, this is when you have just repeated customers coming back for more and more and more and more. And it's a lot easier to be working with somebody who you have already worked with. It's a lot less time and energy and resources to be already working with somebody you've already worked with and get them to go on a journey with you, than it is to continually be out, looking out into the universe for more and more people to come and work with you, so to speak. Because it takes a lot less time and energy to be ready to be working with people that are already in your community, already in your network. Does it mean that we just work with them? No, of course not. But what it means is that we really look after the people that we're already working with. And we go, how can we take them on an even more expansive journey? How can we go even deeper and even wider with the people that we're already working with? And how can we also work with those people to get other like-minded individuals into our network, into our communities, and into our business? So this is what we're going to, I guess, dig a little deeper with in module 2. And I know you're going to love it, because it's really starting to gain a deeper understanding, essentially, of the psychology behind marketing and the psychology behind sales. And I think when we really understand the fundamentals of this, it becomes a lot easier to really communicate effectively, to build great rapport with the people that we're working with, and for those people to feel seen, heard, and held in your programs, in your products, in your services. And that's the ultimate goal when we're working from a heart-centered space in our business model. So get ready, guys, for module 2. So the first thing I wanted to jump into today, and this is a pretty massive concept to jump into, but I believe it is the advantage in business. And some of you may have met this before. In module 1, we went over this in a little bit of a description, but not really deep detail. Now, this is something that comes out of Claire Graves' spiral dynamics. So looking at essentially the evolution of values and consciousness. Now you might go, Ben, I just want to get to the marketing stuff. I don't want to learn about values and consciousness. Now, in module 1, we elicited your top values, and we talked about the concept that to really be living in alignment, to really have flow in your business, you have to have your ideal life that you're creating, and your business needs to work around that, because then you won't have these inner conflicts. Things will flow in a different way. Now, this is much the same to the people that we're working with. We want the people that we're working with, i.e. our clients, whoever they are, we want to really understand, what are their top values and what level of consciousness are they sort of operating from. Now, this is also being recreated or reimagined through NLP, essentially, especially through Dr. Adriana James. She's done a lot of work in breaking down Claire Gray's spiral dynamics, and essentially it breaks it down to more levels than what we're going to go through today. And I'm going to give you the very short version of this, because we don't need to go into the long-winded version. The long-winded version would actually take me 3 to 4 days to actually go through. But for today, I'm going to teach into this model to give you what you need. And I think it is a real game changer when we start to have a better understanding of perhaps where does our target market, where does our niche, the people that we're serving, where do they fit in this evolution of values and consciousness. Because when we have a better understanding of that, we know what motivates them. We know what actually turns them away or like turns them off. We know essentially what sort of language to use with these people when we're having a conversation, which that's what sales is, right? And especially in our marketing. So by understanding this, I think it's an extreme advantage to have as knowledge when it comes to running your business, because again, it's going to come back to the stuff I spoke about earlier. People are going to trust you because people tend to like people like themselves. And if you're communicating in a way where your target market really get what you're putting down, really understand what you're saying, and it really resonates for them, they're going to build deep rapport with you unconsciously, right? And deep trust. And beyond that, what's going to happen is if you know what their highest values are, the things that they're essentially wanting to bring into their reality and the things that they're rejecting in their reality, you can essentially create programs, products, services that are going to best serve them. And like I said, if you market well, you don't need to sell. So let's have a look at these evolution of values and where it came from. So this evolution of values and consciousness, essentially, you can see on your slides here, we want to make sure that we're matching someone's values to your product or your service. Now, it's broken down essentially into these 7 different value systems, if you like. So we're not looking at our top 5 values now. We're looking at a value system that a community can be in. Now, it's broken down into these 7 different levels, but there is more levels in this, but today we'll just focus on these 7. So the first one is looking at something that's called survival, so basically fight or flight values, okay? Then we have what's called the tribe values. So we're looking at things like rituals, beliefs, self-sacrifice for family and tribe. Then we go into ego, which is more self-expression, but it's more sort of like through self-gain without really regard for the effects on others. How, as long as I get ahead, if it affects other people, so be it. I don't even care. So it's not as ecological, perhaps, in their value system there. Then we have value system 4, which is the system seeking safety, security, certainty, and seeking the steps to success. Now, as a collective consciousness, if we look at the world, it's said that we're ultimately operating, the majority of the population is operating here. Now, it doesn't mean all the population is operating here, just the majority of the population of the world. Now, why is that? And I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail shortly, but mainly because of religion. Religion, or structured religion, has served a really great purpose in essentially bringing a lot of calm to chaos. Because once upon a time, there was a time when, especially if we look at Western society, it ultimately came out of the Roman times. Essentially, they started to set up like this structured society. Yes, it goes before that, back all the way to the Egyptians and Aztecs, and even what was happening in India in those times. They had these hierarchy systems and so forth. But ultimately, especially when the Greek Roman system was starting to be set up, there were people believing in all these different religions, all these different gods. And yes, we have lots of different religions around the world now, but especially if you look at the Western model of the world, it really is based in Christian values, essentially. And what this essentially set up was a whole heap of different value systems on how to be a good model citizen of society. This is the right way to operate, to be a good husband, a good mother, This is the right way to operate to be a good citizen of society. And essentially, if you do things right, you'll go to heaven. If you do things wrong, you'll go to hell. And ultimately, what was created was like this book of teachings, and people would go to church or worship on a regular occasion, and this would basically be the fundamentals of how to live in society. So what we would work on is these steps to success in order to get to heaven. And this has been passed down through generation to generation to generation to generation. It's not really so much the religion that is getting taught here, so to speak. It's more so the principles of the steps to success. But if you look at, say, Australia, the US, the UK, Canada, pretty much most of the Commonwealth, or even parts that have been settled by, at some stage, by, say, the Spanish or the French, when they were exploring the New World, they brought these ideals, they brought these value systems out to those countries, which were already had people on those lands. They're the native people to those lands. If we look at Australia, it was the indigenous people here. If we look at the US, it was the indigenous people there. If we look at South America, it was the indigenous people there, right? And ultimately, what happened was, if you had a look at this value system, you can probably start to work out, if I'm someone who, let's say the indigenous people of Australia or the indigenous people of South America or Northern America, they would be operating probably at that stage when those first settlers came at a tribal value system. And this isn't a hierarchy of better or worse, by the way. This is just where people are at. And there's pros and cons to all of this. In some ways, I'd love to just go back and go into the forest and live off the land. I think in many ways, a simple life is a good life, So they, if anything, they had a greater connection to the earth. They had a greater connection to self. They had a greater connection to community, to language, to spirit. And ultimately, they were operating this value system where things like the rituals, the beliefs, the language, the tribe, the family was the most important thing. Now, you can imagine when you've got the system based value system, which came out to say, let's use Australia, for example. They came out to Australia, and obviously the indigenous people were already here, probably operating at a value system of 2. So it would be the tribal value system, which I've spoken about before, with all the rituals, the beliefs, self-sacrifice for family and the tribe as the highest values. That's how they operate. And imagine coming in and suddenly your land's taken away, your people are killed, and even your children are taken away. Your language is starting to be taken away. Your rituals are taken away. You can start to understand why there has been such a rift in the relationship between the indigenous people and the settlers that came into Australia, and why that rift is still there to a degree. There's been some good stuff that's been done, but you can understand where there's been a bit of a rift there. And at some stage, when the first settlers came out to, the European settlers came out to, say, those countries, they brought their system of values. So in Australia, for instance, they at one stage they said, well, we can't kill these people off. They actually are people, not part of. They're not animals, and that's at one stage the way it was looked at, believe it or not. But yes, times have changed, thank goodness. But what happened was they said, okay, no, we need to save these people from going to hell. We need to give them the ability to, live a civilized life, to live a good life. And that's was their value system that they were pushing upon these people. They tried to do it with the adults. And obviously, if they've spent their whole life living off the land and doing things in a certain way, and then they're pushing their value system on them, it's not going to work. And it didn't work. But they said, hey, how about we get the children? If we can, get in front of those children and we can actually start teaching them, the way of God, the way of living a civilized existence, this is going to assist them to live a good life. Now, in a value system of 4, the system, they thought they were actually doing a really good thing. But obviously, you can imagine if you're working at a value system of 2, the tribal value system, where things like rituals, beliefs, that the tribe, the family is the most important thing, the language, the land. Can you imagine what sort of impact that would have? Massive. So there was this lack of understanding between the 2 value systems here. And time has gone on. And obviously, when we look at Western society, this has been the path that Western society has gone down. The majority of the value system of the world at the moment is a value system of four. And when we look at the fact that it's a value system of four that we're experiencing at the moment, what's actually happening is there's a shift that is occurring that is moving us into a value system of five in the world, which is ultimately what's called materialism. Now, this is seeking happiness through status, power, and material. And there's pros and cons to this as well. Where did this kind of start? Pretty much when World War II finished, because what happened was there was a massive technological advancement in human history. If you were to graph like our technological advancement, it was kind of going like this, but World War II made it go like this. So what happened was suddenly there were new inventions. This might seem a little silly to some people right now, but just hear me out. Things like suddenly we had, washing machines, we had vacuum cleaners, we had color TVs, we had, this new aviation industry that didn't exist before. We had this new industry of communication that didn't exist before. We had all these new inventions and comforts that we just didn't have before. So this really started this movement, essentially, of materialism, which is kind of this concept of keeping up with the Joneses. You may have heard of that expression before, which is like the steps to success suddenly weren't just to be a good citizen of society, but to essentially have, the newest car, to be wearing the nicest clothes, to be living in the nicest house. That was a way in which people, through material, through status, through power, through your position, was a way to show to society how well you are doing in the world. And obviously, people who are operating at this sort of value system, what do you think that they're going to really value? Do you think they're going to value things like how can I increase my status? How can I, become more significant in the eyes of society? How can I gain more power? How can I gain more material? How can I gain more wealth? Yeah. How can I move up the ladder so that I can get into higher paid jobs or management or be more seen in the world? So a different value system to people that are, say, operating more at a value system of four, which is they're seeking more safety, more security. The safe full-time job is where that person will usually be found. And they're seeking, okay, this is the right way to do things. Oh, I don't want to stand out too much. I don't want to take too many risks. I want to do what my mum and dad did. I want to do what their mum and dad did. And that's the model that kind of got passed down. So materialism is a bit different. They're willing to take risks. They're willing to, move into more sort of entrepreneurialism, usually as well. They're usually just looking at how they can invest more, how they can move up the ladder, so to speak. If usually they're working for someone else, someone who's operating in a value system of five generally be like a workaholic, or will be someone who's like really focused on climbing the ladder of the company or whatever it is. But usually you'll find a lot of these people in sales. You'll find a lot of these people working in jobs where they'll be in managerial positions essentially as well, and leadership positions sometimes as well. So this is a place where you'll see a lot of that. Now, if we look at, say, value system 3, which I only just touched on before, but I'll just go back there for a second, which is looking more at this idea of self-expression through self-gain. This would be maybe like, say, some athletes, for instance, where it's all about them, and they're really focused on them, or like a bodybuilder in a gym, for instance, or where this also expresses itself as teenagers. You remember when you were a teenager, you were just like, no, this is the right way. I'm just going to do this because this is fun, or this is what I want to do. I don't really care about the consequences or who this is going to affect. This is a stage of development. Some people don't outgrow it though, right? And then, of course, the survival values is really when we're operating that very base sort of level of values, which is ultimately fight or flight and just wanting to survive. And we outgrow this hopefully as we, mature and grow in our psychological and I guess, and as we grow in awareness. But we also return to this when we're put in a fight or flight situation. If you were suddenly in a situation where someone was running towards you with a gun and you had a gun, what do you think would happen? We go straight back to that fight or flight response. If you suddenly became really sick, do you think that you're going to be thinking about all the great things that you can create? If you were really sick and struggling just to get out of bed each day. You're just going to be focused on one thing, and that's to survive, to get better. So we do move through these different levels at different stages of our life, but it's important to understand where someone's values might be based upon where they are in life and their psychological and spiritual development, essentially, and also what is occurring within their reality and the environments in which these people are in. So then we have a value system 6, right? We've gone all the way from 1 now through to 6. This is called the collective. Now, this was already starting really in the 60s, but what essentially this has grown over time is really through information technology. People have the ability to see that perhaps this system of materialism, maybe it actually doesn't lead to long-lasting happiness. And maybe there's something deeper than that. So a lot of the collective values are more about, say, having experiences instead of cultivating heaps of things in your life. It's about cultivating maybe heaps of memories. Or it's about, how can I live a life where I can give more, but I'm focused more in that area of life than getting. It's more about community and how I can be part of community than how I can just essentially stand out. So it's a different sort of value system, right? Quite a paradoxical one compared to the value systems of someone who's operating in value system 5, materialism. And, they're going to have different language to someone who's operating at materialism too. Same with people at value system 4. And then we have functional flow, which is ultimately value system 7, which is looking at someone who's integrated pretty much all the levels above, can work with anyone in all those different levels, and is now operating from a place of self-expression, bringing their ideas into the world, sharing their gifts, but they're doing it in an ecological way. It's obviously going to help them, and they do put themselves first. They value their time, their energy. They put themselves first. They're very self-full. And they also value the people they love and care about the most in their community, in their tight-knit family or community. And then they value their communities and their families and their communities. And it's a ecological approach on, this is good for me, it's good for them, it's good for the people I work with, it's good for their families, it's good for their communities, and dare I say it, even the world. So when we look at these value systems, if you start to look at your target market now, the niche that you're working with, where do you think they kind of fall? That's the question I want to ask yourself right now. So as you look through those different value systems, where do you think your niche market is? Because the way in which you communicate with your niche market is going to be completely different based upon where the evolution of values they are operating from. So for instance, Empowered Academy's niche market, ultimately, we're looking for people that are operating from a value system of 6. We are really looking for people that are operating from value system 6. However, and I can't go into the details of this in this module today, but you can still have parts of different value systems that aren't quite integrated yet. So there might be a value system where you spend the majority of your time, or your highest values are kind of more value system 6 sort of values. However, usually our ideal client is someone who is a value system 6 that hasn't maybe integrated parts of value system 4 and value systems 5. So they're struggling with some of the structure stuff. They're struggling with some of the safety, security, some financial structure and safety and security there. They're struggling with, the concept of like discipline. They may be struggling with the concept of creating wealth, and maybe they're rejecting that at some level, consciously or unconsciously. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring people into leadership positions, essentially by starting leading their own life, but we're doing it in a way where we're communicating effectively with the value system 6. So an example of the sort of marketing you'll see with us is we use color schemes that are going to attract a more value system 6. We use imagery that is going to attract a value system 6 person. Yeah. We use language that is going to attract that person. Words like expansive, words like collective, words like heart-centered, words like, or phrases like how you can give more, create more, experience more, because they're the highest values of a value system 6, right? So when you start to understand, where essentially your niche market operating from the evolution of value systems, we can start to communicate so effectively with those people. And like I said, today's module is not quite the module to be able to unpack this in all its totality, but having a basic understanding of this is very, very powerful. And like I said, we also look at the parts that aren't quite integrated in the value sixes, because to move fully into a value system 7, you do need to integrate those certain parts. So they would have parts of value system 4 that they haven't quite integrated yet, perhaps in our value system 6. And what parts are they? So when I can identify those parts, that becomes my products. That becomes my services. That becomes the things that I'm creating for these people, because ultimately at a really deep level, unconsciously, they're looking for integration of those parts. Those parts are level 4 that they haven't integrated fully yet. Those parts of level 5 that they haven't fully integrated yet, and maybe they're rejecting. Because if you're rejecting a certain part of a level, what actually it's stopping you from doing is moving into that next level fully. So we need to look at, where do we believe that our niche that we're working with at the moment, our target market, where would they be? What would be their predominant value system that they're working with? What would even possibly be their top 5 values? Like if you were to create an avatar of that perfect client that you work with, what would even be their top 5 values maybe? And that's who you're communicating with. Because then if you're even niching it down even more to your perfect client, you're going to get a lot more perfect clients, because you're going to be communicating like you're communicating to your perfect client. So if I was to create an avatar, which we do have at Empowered Academy, my avatar her name is Kylie. And Kylie, she's 37, and her main operating system is a value system 6. She's got some stuff that she hasn't quite integrated in value system 4, that she hasn't integrated quite yet. In fact, she rejects a lot of the beliefs, a lot of the values in value system 4, but she's needing to integrate some of those back into, instead of pushing away the system, integrating the system and making it work for her. She also is rejecting a lot of the materialism stuff, which can bring a lot of happiness to her and other people, can actually, assist her on her journey too. And she's needing to integrate parts of that as well, and wealth and everything like that, and not look at it as being a bad thing. Now she's gone through, and she's been a mother, and she's come out the other side of that, and she's kind of worked the full-time job thing. She started to move into self-employment. She's really interested in things like yoga, self-development, really interested in health and wellness. And you know what? She's got to a stage in her life where she doesn't want to work for somebody else. She wants to work for herself and do something that really brings, joy and passion to her life and fulfillment. But she's missing some of those pieces that is going to assist her, some of the strategy, and ultimately some of the limiting beliefs, some of the mindset stuff that she needs to almost recreate herself into. Who am I now if I'm not a mother? Who am I now if I'm not playing that role in my work, as a mother in my workplace? Who am I now? And who do I really want to become? And that's ultimately the person who we are talking to. And this person, she's a lot of fun. You can have a bit of a joke with her, but at the same time, you can really go deep with her. She's willing to go to those spaces, go to those places, and she's committed to this journey of, really healing herself so she can really assist and heal others too. And she's got an open mind and an open heart. So when I actually write posts or when I write a program, that is actually exactly who I'm writing to. It's almost like I'm writing to Kylie each time. Now, do I get people outside of Kylie? Of course I do. But at some level, there's going to be characteristics of Kylie, that perfect client, that is going to be in the people that we draw into our community and into our products and services. I share this with you because I want you to start thinking about who is your avatar. Give that person a name, work out what their value system is. What are the things that they're possibly rejecting that they need to integrate? Because if you really can work that out, I can tell you now, it's going to write your program, it's going to write your products, it's going to help you no end to your content marketing, to your marketing in general. And dare I say it, even when it comes to sales, you'll know how to communicate with this person so much more effectively. And therefore you'll know what their true top values are. And therefore you'll be able to leverage that when having that conversation, because people ultimately are looking to reach their highest values, and they're looking to integrate at a deep unconscious level the things that they're rejecting. So if you can get into their shoes, if you can think about that you're Kylie for a second, or you're Greg, or you're David, or you're like Sally, or whoever that ideal client is, then that will make it so much easier, because it's not about what you're creating for you, it's about what you're creating for them, right? Focus on service, not on selling. Focus on value and values, yeah? Instead of products and services. It changes the game. Awesome. So hopefully you got a bit out of that. Like I said, this is really the tip of the iceberg with this stuff. If you would love to learn more about this, we do offer this in our and we actually teach and unpack this over 3 to 4 days in our NLP Master Practitioner. So if you're wanting some more information about that, feel free to visit our website, so empoweredacademy.com, and you'll find it there. Awesome. Okay, so moving forward, we spoke a little bit into this last module, but I think it is really important to just quickly go over this once more so we really get it. And when we're looking at these 7 stages to total time, location, freedom, and financial freedom, ultimately, we want to look at this concept that is a journey. And if you're working full time right now, if you're working a job and you're wanting to leverage yourself into a space where you're working fully for yourself, we need to sometimes do that intelligently. And one of the best ways we can do that is, first of all, by reducing bad debt. And bad debt is like the modern slavery. It keeps us doing the shit we don't want to do because we have to pay the bills that we have to pay. And usually the more debt you've accumulated, or bad debt, the more it keeps you doing the things you don't want to do, or keep staying in the job you don't want to stay in, because you're fearful that you won't be able to pay those bills, right? So the more we can reduce the amount of overheads that we have in our life, and we can reduce a lot of that bad debt, then we're really only paying for the things that we need. And really, in this lifetime, sometimes it's better to, I guess, have a time and space where you go, you know what, I'm not going to buy that brand new car from the dealership right now. I'm happy just to get a car and pay for it outright. That's, like under 10, maybe 10 grand, as long as it's reliable or something, so that you can actually put that money towards setting up your business or in personal development, for instance. What's going to serve you in the long term longer, right? And then if you want to go and buy that car from the dealership, 3-4 years from now, you can probably get whatever you want. And maybe you can even pay for it up front instead of taking it out on finance. This is the way we need to start thinking. And the best way to do this is to start to work on your business outside of your full time. Then what we can do, as you can see here, there's pros and cons to each, of course, but then we can leverage ideally into a space where we can let go of some hours. Maybe we go into permanent part-time, and we have the chat with our employer to set that up. Or we potentially go into another job where we are working permanent part-time. That gives us some regular income at a skill that we already have, but it gives us more of our 2 greatest resources, time and energy. Now, if you're doing that, that's really powerful. If you're already working for yourself right now, but finding you're probably more at a point in the business where you're exchanging time for money so much, you can do the same sort of thing. How can you condense the amount of hours that you're working so you're only working a couple of days a week, perhaps, or a couple of mornings a week, or whatever it is, a couple of afternoons a week, so that it frees you up to work more in your business? Because if you have more freedom of time, more energy, it's going to allow you to work more on your business, which is going to grow that, and then you won't have to work for someone else. It'll move you out of there a lot quicker than if you're working full time. But it's about doing that, obviously, smart. So beyond that, then we have stage 3, which ultimately is self-employment. But we're exchanging time for money here. Now, this is a great place to start, but it's not a great place to finish, because there is only so many hours you can do in a day. There's only so many sessions available in a week, and there's only so much energy that you can give out. So what we want to do is we want to move away from this concept of just exchanging time for money, and rather move into this world where we start to go, how can I, yes, maybe still exchange time for money, but how can I start to create other products, other services, or dare I say it, bring in other employees into your business, that you can stop exchanging that time for money, which brings us to stage 4, essentially. And this is really how we move through these different stages, is then going, okay, what are some things that I can create? Maybe it's like some products for sale. And that can include, like this program right now, for instance, will be a product for sale, which will be a training that people can do, which is in Teachable. You're probably watching Teachable right now. So this is me practicing what I'm preaching, showing you how possible this is. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be in a situation where you can create your own Teachable programs, which you may have delivered live at some stage. You may have, also repackaged these and drip fed them as content on your social platforms or on your website, perhaps. But what it allows you to do is then suddenly this program, someone can gain all the knowledge, all the wisdom, they can apply the learnings, but I don't have to exchange that time for money anymore. I've done it once, and now I don't have to do it again. So when we start looking at this, that's a product. So think about how what you're already doing, you can package that up and create a product perhaps as well, because this will start the journey of leveraging your time. And this will start the journey of not exchanging time for money anymore. And then beyond that, how can you bring other people into your business that ultimately can manage certain aspects of the business? Because what that will do will leverage your time and your energy. Okay. So start thinking about that, because there's so many other things that you can bring into your business that doesn't have to be part of this exchange of time for money that your target market will love and will want to purchase through you because they already have a relationship with you. So beyond that is having fully automated businesses. So why stop at one way of doing things, one business model where you just say one-on-one sessions, whether it be coaching, consulting, healing, personal training, hairdressing, whatever your business is, doesn't really matter, right? But if you're exchanging time for money, how can you also go, all right, now I'm going to create some automated courses. Now I'm going to sell some salt lamps. Now I'm going to sell some training equipment packages. Now I'm going to have, a 6-week challenge that runs online. It's really, how can I become more creative with this? Maybe you want to go into a completely different industry and also start doing some work there as well, perhaps. But if you keep it a different industry, but still the same target market, that's going to make it even easier for you, because ultimately they're going to want to buy from you and you've already got a community that's already established. And if it's a product or a service that your already existing community already loves, then guess what? Do you think it's going to be very easy to then on-sell your new product or service to them, your new business venture? Of course. So this is how we can do things a little bit smarter. And this moves us into position 5 in this model. So position 6 or stage 6 of this financial time and location freedom sees us in a position where we are ultimately now starting to not just make money through business, but invest money in different ways, not just through businesses as such, but maybe in property and maybe in other businesses that we didn't create. Now, one of the fastest ways that you can get a return is actually by putting money into other businesses, other business ideas, and then getting a profit share of that. Now, is there risk associated? Of course. Is there risk associated putting money into shares? Yes. Is there risk associated putting money into property? Yes. Usually the higher the risk, the higher the return too. But you can be calculated in the risk. And timing is massive too when it comes to investing. So by investing, this can be a really powerful way that you can, start to make money work for you instead of you work for money. And only invest and only put money into things, especially when it's got a high risk, that could come back as a high return. If it was like, I'm going to put $2,000 into this to start with, might be like, some shares or something like that, or $2,000 into this business venture. And if you can honestly walk away and go, if I was to lose that 2K and learn a lesson from it, that'd totally be okay. If you can say that, then you can then do it. But if you can't say that to yourself, or I can't afford to lose that 2K, you probably shouldn't invest it there. So that's a really good check-in when it comes to investing, but it definitely can pay off for you in a really massive way. And even beyond that, look at how you can start to perhaps be involved with maybe a multi-level marketing company, for instance, where it's a product or service that people already love in your target market. It's something that you believe in and that you love as well. You have to absolutely love the product or service too. Otherwise, that's not going to work. Something that you use, and then ultimately people are going to see you using it. They're going to ask about you. If you're in you really love the products or services, and you've got a model like that, that's self-perpetuating. That's something that is that actually over time you can put a little bit of work in, and then it keeps growing exponentially. So we're aligned with doTERRA. Again, if you would like to learn more about doTERRA and like to be part of what we do and like to be mentored by us, then by all means reach out and we can have a conversation about that as well. But that's something that we also got running with our business. It's another stream of income that we've created. And Value System 6s are going to love doTERRA. Those that don't know what doTERRA is, it's an essential oils business which are naturally derived from the earth. Ultimately, nature has everything that we need in order to heal ourselves, and also products that you can use that are 100% natural as well. So it's not just what you put in your body, but also what you put on your body. Deodorants, what you put in your hair, all that is going through one of your biggest organs, which is your skin, and into your bloodstream. So this is something that I've become more aware of as I've sort of journeyed through life. And now this has been a big part of, my optimal health is not just what I'm putting into my body, but also being very conscious of what I put on my body. So I'm sharing that with you because these are the different things that you can start to bring in to create multiple streams of income. And then, of course, the stage 7 is where you can really get into a beautiful place of philanthropy almost. Like you can pretty much give almost, if you wanted to, half of what you kind of earn a year if you wanted to, into other projects. You could set up like non-for-profit organizations. You can run, I know I run like free men's retreats and stuff like that. You can give also of your time. You can give your services. I don't really share that publicly, the stuff that we do, because I feel like sometimes when you share it publicly, it loses the intention of it. Because I really try and act from a place of selfless service, which is not being glorified for the giving. But in this platform, I'll happily share with you in the last 12 months, we've given thousands of dollars away, not away, but to assist in Bali, because obviously the pandemic over there has really rattled them. So we've given a lot of money towards that. We've also assisted a lot of people who have been in really tricky places over Christmas time this year as well. And we've given generous donations out to them. And we also do align with a couple of other different organizations that we do generally give to on a regular occasion as well. So I share this with you guys because I think it's important in this context, but it's not something I usually share very publicly. I used to, but I've learned over time that really, if it's about the giving, then I wouldn't make it so public. Otherwise, it's not like, oh, look at me, giving here, giving there. Oh, I just did this today. If it's really about the giving, you just do it. You don't need to be praised for it. So that's my model of the world, but it doesn't have to be yours. But I think like there becomes a moral responsibility that when we get ourselves to a stage where, yeah, pretty much like, our living expenses are pretty covered, life's, pretty comfortable. You want to be giving a percentage away usually. Think about how can I give, because when you give, you get, that's the thing. We talked about it in module 1, that ultimately we have these laws that govern all of the universe. And one of them is the law of cause and effect. And whatever I put out into the world will come back. So I'm not doing it for that reason, so to speak, but I know that law exists. So I know that a lot of good stuff's going to come back in if I'm putting good stuff out into the world. So if you can always remember that, it's a really powerful thing that can drive your intention behind action too. Cool? So think about how you can start that process today. Because if you're not willing to give $1 out of $100, when you make 100,000, you're not going to be willing to give $10. When you make $1 million, you're not going to be willing to give 100. You need to start that process now and just work it on where you're at, but start that process, because it might not seem much for you, but for so many, it can mean so much. So think about how you can start to give more and focus on the giving. I think it's really powerful. So I think that's the ultimate, right? With also having the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, and have ultimate ability to work more on your businesses or assets to grow them, opposed to working in there, which means you can spend more time creating new things, doing what you love, and really giving to the world. So I guess the question now is, Ben, how am I going to effectively manage my time and design my dream life? You've given me all these great concepts, but how do I put this into practice, right? So first and foremost, you can't create anything by sitting on your hands. You need to take the action. And regardless if you're working full-time at the moment, part-time, or you're working self-employed, whether you're a business owner or business operator, business owner is someone who's working in the business, and without them, the business pretty much does this. A business operator is someone who can leave the business and the business keeps running, right? So you need to have a look at, how am I spending my time? We all have 24 hours in a day. That's the truth. We all have different responsibilities. Now, the difference between responsibilities is going to vary depending on, if you've got kids, if you've got other commitments and stuff and so forth. But there's also things that we believe are responsibilities that simply aren't. And there comes a time when we need to look at certain things that we should be outsourcing. So time management is just so important. And instead of taking you down that path in this video, I'm going to leave it to some other experts out there that are going to speak in time management for you. So as part of your tasking, as part of this program, after this module, you'll have some videos to watch, which are linked into YouTube. I'm really big on making sure that I keep up to date with what people who are really crushing it in business, in life, are doing. The success leaves clues. So I've got a couple of videos that I'm going to get you guys to watch that is going to be part of your tasking. So some happy watching, happy listening. You can listen to them in the car and stuff like that as well. But they're going to go a bit deeper into this concept of time management and why it really is so important. And it's not what we do, it's sometimes what we don't do. It's not what we say yes to, but sometimes what we say no to. And if we always remember that our two greatest resources are our time and our energy, then we can start to consciously safeguard those two things. And when we consciously safeguard those two resources, that actually allows us to create more. And it allows us to really perform at a higher level as well. So that's what we really want to look at. How are we spending our time and energy? That's really, really important. And when we look at time and energy, it's not the time that we have, but rather how efficiently we're doing the tasks that need to be done. So if we're working with outcomes instead of to-dos, this puts us in a really powerful position, because when I go, oh, this is my massive to-do list today, guess what I'm going to do? My to-do list. And then there's going to be more to-dos there. Whereas I could look at an outcomes list and go, okay, this is an outcome that needs to be done today. Do I have to do it? And it can be as simple as going to get some printing done, right? Do I have to do that job, or can I pay someone else to do that today? Or it might be mowing the lawn. Should I be doing that today, or should I be spending my time in my business? Could I outsource that? So look at ways that you can start to leverage your time. Look at ways that you can start to outsource, because at the end of the day, once you start outsourcing, if you've got an outcomes list, does the outcome get done if you do it or not? Here's the thing, to get the outcomes done doesn't mean you necessarily need to do it. This can change the game massively. And also look how you can do things more efficiently and more effectively to gain that leverage as well. It's about also eliminating distraction when it comes to being efficient. So you've probably already seen in the last module, I gave you a bit of a sneak peek of my ideal day, ideal week. I have it broken down into half-hour sort of quadrants where I'm doing, say, accounting for half an hour, not for an hour. Oh, hang on a second, not for an hour, not for 2 hours, but for 1 hour, for half an hour rather. So what we want to do is we want to look at this concept, and we want to look at going, okay, well, how long do I have to do my accounting? Half an hour. How long do I have to do my lead follow-up? Half an hour. How long do I have to do my morning posting? Half an hour. Now, when I'm doing my accounting, am I checking those other messages that just popped up on Facebook? No. When I'm doing my accounting, am I, stopping and going and having something to eat? No. When I'm doing my accounting, am I also then simultaneously doing marketing stuff? No. Do one task at a time. Because when you are multitasking, you will never try breaking things down in a way where you're essentially breaking up small pieces. Because if we're breaking things down into, if we're breaking things down into these smaller pieces, what this allows us to do is do things more efficiently. So if we go half an hour, I'm just going to focus on this aspect of the business, might be accounting, or for half an hour, I'm just going to focus on marketing. You're actually going to be more efficient and get more stuff done in that 2 or 3 hours than trying to do many things all at once. If you're doing many things all at once, you're never doing anything very, very well. And what we could do is, there's a difference between being efficient and focused, and also a difference between being time effective. Now, dead time, like you say, driving in a car, obviously you can be smart about it, and you can listen to, say, the videos that I'm going to send you. You can listen to those videos in your car while you're driving. That's efficiency. That's very different to multitasking. Multitasking, if you're trying to do accounting and you're getting distracted by and trying to reply to Facebook messages, you're trying to post on like Instagram, you're trying to, make a sandwich, you're trying to drive your car. Let's hopefully you're not doing all those things. But you start to see you're not doing anything well, and all you're really doing is doing everything at a very mediocre level, or even worse, a very bad level. So how can we actually start to break up the tasks we have to do and just be like laser beam focus on the task at hand? Yeah. So let's look at that moving forward. So in your ideal week now, let's go down and chunk it down even more and see how you can be even more efficient with the time that you have? How can you, in your ideal week that you've already started, creating for yourself, how can you set that up in such a way that you can make sure that moving forward, you can consistently make sure that you're really being very focused with the task at hand and breaking those tasks down, because then you'll get them done in a lot less time. Because discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. Because the more disciplined you are with your time, the more focused you are with your time, the more freedom of time it actually gives you, believe it or not. So we also want to get into these like uninterrupted flow states as well. So is it useful to have the TV running? No. Is it useful to have kids screaming around, running around you? No. You want to be in a space and a place where you can sit down and be really focused. I usually don't even answer messages on even Facebook or email or anything like that unless I'm in front of my computer sitting down, because I can do it so much more effectively, so much more efficiently. Someone goes, Ben, I need this document. Boom, I can send it. Ben, I need you to look over this. Boom, I can do it. Ben, can you look at your schedule? I want to book in this with you. Boom, I can do it. Opposed to trying to do things on the run all the time. And also you want to make sure that you're not just working all the time. If your mind's always in work mode, you're glued to this, right? Constantly. It vibrates and you react. You need to not let that be the case. You need to be in a situation where you use technology to assist you, not technology is using you. So you need to set some healthy boundaries about when you check messages, perhaps. And if you're always replying to messages late at night with clients, guess what that's going to reinforce? For them to keep messaging you late at night, even when you tell them not to. So be careful, because your actions speak so much louder than your words. And having a designated time where you do, say, messages, for instance, you're going to do them so much more efficiently. And having timeframes allows you to do things quicker, because you're going, oh, I've got like 20 minutes left or 15 minutes left to get this accounting done. Instead of like just blasé doing things, you do things way more efficiently. So try that strategy out, experiment with it. It makes all the difference. And have little breaks. 15-minute breaks is usually great to allow yourself to sort of go to the toilet, go get some food. You're starting to do those things. And try to complete problem solving and analytical work. Ideally in the morning. Science sort of suggests that analytically the best time to do that stuff is more sort of the morning time of the day. And then in the evening, if we can do more of the creative stuff, that's a better time to be doing that sort of activity. So if you can sort of break your scheduling of how you run your business in those sort of quadrants, generally you'll do quite well. Obviously, everyone has, some people are more night owls, some people are more early risers, but I would dare say that is more an environmental thing and more of a conditioning thing than it is necessarily your natural state. Let me put it this way: if you were to go sleep out in the bush for a couple of weeks, I guarantee you'll be waking up just before sunrise, and by the time the sun goes down, you'll start to be pretty tired, and you'll be ready for bed. You won't be staying up probably all that late. Within a couple of weeks, I guarantee you'll start to get into the cycles of nature. So in saying that, obviously some people do get up earlier than others, but in saying that, I think it's important to look at what science is suggesting, which is suggesting that analytical work is usually going to be more efficient at it first thing, or more so in that morning sort of quadrant, whatever that is for you, and more the creative stuff is going to be better more so in the evening sort of quadrant. So just maybe experiment is what I always say. And always do existing money-making activity first, new money-making activity second, and then creative stuff last. I feel like, especially people in this group, if you're doing this program, you're probably a value system 6 with some parts of value system 4 and 5 that need to be integrated. I've already spoken to this concept right now, right? So if that's you love the creative stuff. You love like being in the moment more. You love allowing, yourself to be creative, to be exploring, to be trying new things, to be exploring new ideas. That's what someone at a value system 6 is going to really be drawn to, right? So in saying that, I know myself, I love to do the creative stuff. I love to be making the music tracks. I love to be, creating and editing the videos and stuff. I like doing that stuff. And I get like, it's not even work for me. It's like a lot of fun. But if I was just doing that stuff early in the morning and the stuff that I want to do first, the creative stuff, unless that's kind of like your bread and butter of how you get paid, it's not going to help you with the analytical stuff because you just simply won't do it in the afternoon, or you won't do it efficiently, which means you'll blow out to, like, instead of being half an hour, an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? So you got to be disciplined, and you got to do that analytical stuff first thing and get that stuff done and get that out of the way. But beyond that, you need to do money making activities first. So I always do existing money making activities first, which is making sure I'm on top of my accounting, making sure the people that are already doing our programs and working with us are paying, because the lifeblood of your business is your cash flow. No cash is no oxygen to your business. So in knowing that, we need to make sure the people that are already in your business are paying, because it's not so bad if someone misses one payment 1 week. That's maybe $100 or something, perhaps, depending on your business model. But what if that 1 week turns to 2? Now it turns to 3. Now it turns to 4 weeks that you just haven't been on top of it. And now you're asking them to get back on top of that payment, which is $400, plus continue their payments again. Now, it might not seem like much for some, but for some, it's a lot, right? So we need to look at this, and we need to also go, okay, what are the money-making activities that I need to do first thing in the morning? And beyond that, go, who are a couple of people that, I literally have had as really hot leads? They're the first people you need to follow up on, because it's most likely that those people are going to invest with you. You don't want to be working from the bottom of the list up. You want to work from the top of the list down, because the likelihood of the people who yes, if I contacted this person, I contacted these people, I posted in this database I've already got, in this Facebook group, I posted out to my community online, I post into my email community that I'm already working with, this new product or service, I'm most likely going to get a sale there than I am just to general public, right? So always go to what are the steps, and almost you could write them down, that I know that I'm going to get paid if I do these activities, more so than if I was just to go cold market, right? Then what you want to do is you want to go into new money making activities, which would be leads. So any leads that you've generated, whether it's through your website, whether it's through a Facebook event, whether it's through direct messaging through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, whether it's through a lead capture page, whatever leads you have, or whether it's like a prize draw you've done, whatever, it doesn't matter. But whatever leads you have, time kills deals. And I've unfortunately lost many of people in the past because I haven't been quick enough on the reply. Now there's a fine line, right? I think what's reasonable is 24 hours, but if you push out over 24 hours for a reply, I feel like there's a very high likelihood that, especially in the society and culture we have today, that people want things instantly. They want it now. We live in a society of instant gratification. Technology is also doing this. Social media is doing this, where people, when they want something, they want it now. So if you don't reply to them quick enough, they will look outside, and they will find someone else who can assist them. So it's not always the best company that ends up getting the product or the sale or the service or the sale with the client. It's ultimately the person who can also reply the quickest, because when that person wants that product or service, they want it now, not yesterday, or tomorrow. They want it in this moment right now. So the quicker you can get back to them, the better. So the first thing is go, all right, first of all, money making activity, the direct debits you already got going through, make sure they're happening properly. That's the first thing you need to do. Second thing, where do I want to launch my my new product or sale, or my existing marketing? Where is some places I can place this that I know I'm most likely going to generate some new leads today? Yeah, I'm going to generate some new leads or pretty easily generate a sale. And we're going to give you some more tips around this, obviously, as we go deeper into this program. But that's the second point. And then I'd look at the leads that are already there, and I'd start making my way through those leads. Yeah, that would be what I do before I'd move on to the creative stuff, because ultimately cash flow in your business is the oxygen to your business. So you want to make sure that A, you're looking after the people that you're already working with. B, you want to look at, what are some places I can drop my marketing that are already people I'm already working with, or I have worked with in the past that already know me or an experience my product or service. Then you go, what are the leads I've already got? Because they're obviously interested. If you've got a lead there, they're interested. And then you can go beyond that. And then you can go, okay, What are some other business relationships I can set up? What are some other ways that I can connect and draw in some new leads? If we follow that structure, generally you'll always have money there. You'll always have cash flow, and then do more the creative stuff after you finish that. That has served me extremely well. That's some advice that I have been given by business coaches of my own over the years, and it served me. It changed the game for me, actually. So I share that with you because I'm sure you can see how logical that even sounds. But try it, experiment with it, and see how it works for you. So we really need to know this target market intimately, though, because if we're speaking to everyone we're speaking to, no one. I say this again and again, because the more that we can niche down, the more we can really know the people we're speaking with, the more we can communicate effectively with them and ultimately understand them better. When we can understand them better, we can really build deep rapport, we can really meet their problems and ultimately be the person that is assisting them, giving them solutions. So some of these questions you've already gone through, which is fantastic, but maybe it's starting to change. And in this program, the target market, sometimes that you start with it when you first start, can change by the time you're finished. And sometimes it can just even get even more specified. But that's great. That's why you're in this program. That's why you're doing this program, because you're wanting to delve even deeper and have a deeper understanding of that. So, who are your target market now? Yeah. What are they interested in? Yeah. What problems do they face on a regular occasion? And just write a massive list, because it might have changed. What solutions are you giving them that is better than your competitors? What is your point of difference in the marketplace? Maybe you've already started thinking about some other points of difference you can bring in. What other partnerships will you set up to get better exposure in your marketplace, right? So if for instance, Empowered Academy, we run courses, retreats, Value System 6. Where would I find Value System 6 people? I would probably find them at yoga studios. I'd probably find them at spiritual events. I would probably find them in spiritual Facebook groups. I'd probably find them maybe at wellness centers. I'd find them at maybe like drumming circle stuff. I might find them into so many different places, right? I just have to be creative. But ultimately, if I was, meditation groups, whatever. But ultimately, if I look at where I'm going to find these sort of people, how can I build partnerships with other businesses or other groups that ultimately I can get closer to that target market? I can, expose them to what we got to offer, and hopefully we can work together. And it's going to be complementary to what they're already doing with that other business or service. So that's a powerful, powerful way to build your business quickly. Awesome. And now we start moving into ultimately what language, keywords will attract your target market. If you can write down a whole heap of keywords that your target market love, like even maybe they say it on a regular occasion, or unconsciously that's going to speak to them at such a deeper level. So even when I'm on a call, a sales call, I will just listen to some of the words someone's using, and I'll have a pen and paper there, and any key phrases they use, like might go, at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, and I just want to have, I just want to expand. I just want to have a more expansive experience. If they said at the end of the day and expansive, guess what I'm going to then say back to them? Well, yeah, look, at the end of the day, doing the Empowered Business Program is an expansive way that you can not just grow yourself professionally, but also spiritually as well. At the end of the day, there's a great opportunity here for you to, at your own pace, so you can have time to still do the things that you love, to spend time with the people that you love. At your own pace, you can actually do this, and you can grow and expand. And at the end of the day, this will also give you the ability to actually apply things module by module, and you'll be able to experiment, and you'll know that it'll be with heart-centered values that will be seated in how you can expand and share your message to the people you're really looking to serve. Can you see how all I've really done is echoed back the same language that my target market would essentially use, or in that case, the person I'm on a sales call to. Now, again, if you can really identify who the people are that you're working with, you can then do that in your marketing. And some people go, isn't that like a bit like you're kind of using language to kind of get a certain result, you're actually simply just communicating with the person effectively. They have total free will to decide whether they work with you or not. But people like themselves. If you can communicate effectively, usually you'll get great results with people. Generally, where there's a butting of heads is where there's a breakdown in communication. So all we're doing is being effective communicators. Just makes sense. So look at the keywords that are going to attract your target market, right? And let's say like a value system 5, they're probably not going to be attracted to words like expansive, heart-centered. They're just not going to care about that sort of stuff. So look at the keywords you're using, the language you're using to make sure that it is going to be in alignment with the people that you're serving. And of course, what images, what colors will attract that target market. You've seen Empowered Academy's logo. It is the flower of life, right? So because it's the flower of life, you can tell there's some form of spiritual aspect to it because it's a geometric pattern. Yeah. You know that, with the color scheme, it's like purples, whites, there's some gold in there as well. So these are like sort of those higher chakra sort of colors, if you want to look at it that way. Like indigo is really the color we're kind of going for. So, and you look at a lot of that imagery, it is, more so along the lines of having like chakras in it, or we'll have geometric patterns in it. We'll have more sort of people sitting in a meditative posture, perhaps. You get the idea. So by having the correct imagery, a value system 5 person is probably not going to be all attracted to that. A value system 4, maybe, but probably not as well. So we start attracting our ideal clients, and we get not necessarily quantity, but quality leads. And that's the difference. Because if it's not about how many leads you get, it's how many sales you get. And it's about the quality of the people that you're working with, because then it's not hard work. If you get misaligned people in your business, I guarantee you they will be the hardest work in terms of clients, because you won't be seeing eye to eye. You won't be understanding one another. They won't be understanding the benefits of the program and why you're doing what you're doing, because they'll feel like they need it delivered in a different way, because it's really, you're not speaking to each other. It's probably maybe not even be the program for them. So we really want to have just a whole heap of perfect clients, and then it's just no work. It's just a lot of fun. So that's really what we're seeking here. And I think when we can do that through language, imagery, and creating that avatar, creating that perfect avatar of a client that we're working with, this is a game changer. This is really the difference when it comes to marketing effectively and bringing in that perfect client moving forward. So you might go, Ben, but how am I going to get my message out there to my niche market? How am I going to do this? Well, essentially, you have to become basically seen as knowledgeable in your field. Now, I use the word expert, with hyphenated commas or whatever here as well, in your marketplace. Now, expert, that's maybe not the right term, but that's why I've done these ones. It's ultimately that you're knowledgeable enough to the point where they know that you are the person, or your product, your service, your company can help guide them and give them the result that they're after. Okay. That's why they do business with you, because you have knowledge, information, or a product or a service that is going to move them away from a state that that they don't want to experience anymore towards a state they do want to experience at the end of the day. So we need to be looking at how we can essentially be someone in that industry or in that niche that is seen as somebody who has knowledge and value to give. So how do we do this effectively? Well, one of the most effective ways we can do this is through content marketing. Content marketing is very different to direct marketing. Content marketing is essentially giving value to a client or a community, or putting value out there on your social platforms, which creates a following. It's indirect. It's a way where we're giving before we're asking for them to buy. Direct marketing is buy this now. It's like an irresistible offer. Buy this now, limited time. That's the oldest way to sell. And in a social situation, not great. Which is in social platforms, it won't get you very far. And in fact, it's showing at the moment that people are getting more and more desensitized to that form sales. I mean, billboards, how effectively do they work? You know, think about a route that you drive regularly right now. Think about all the billboards or the signs that are between you and that route that you drive all the time. You probably can't think of any of them, or you can only think of a couple. But you certainly, I would be surprised if anyone in this video could think of all of them. Why? Because we're so desensitized to it now. So when we look at content marketing, that's about how can I give value to my target market on a regular occasion without any point of sale. What? Without any point of sale? Giving without, directing them to anything else? Correct. The only thing you should direct them to is more value. So you go, hey, if you want to check out this video in full, click on this link. That's just directing them to more value. And they're more invested now because they have already spent time watching a 30-second video or a 2-minute video. And now they're going, oh, I'm going to watch the whole YouTube video that's now an hour long. They're very invested. They've just received more value from you. So you don't want to always be selling. You want to kind of do about an 80-20 at the very most, which is value, offer. Value, offer. Yeah. When we do it like this, we build relationship. And sometimes it's not going to always be the first exposure or the second exposure or even the fifth exposure. It might take somebody years to start working with you. But here's the difference. If they've been watching you and been getting value from you and the timing just wasn't right, when the time is right, guess who they're going to go to? That's right, your product or service, your business. So here's the thing, just because they're not buying now doesn't mean they're not going to buy a year from now or 2 years from now. It happens a lot, and I can vouch for that. It's happened a lot, even in my own business. I have people that go, I've been following you for years, but the timing just wasn't right. Now I'm at a new stage of my life. Timing is totally right. So, never sort of discredit this concept of consistency when it comes to giving value. And hey, if no one ever works with you, they might refer you. And that happens too. So always look at how you can give value. And that can be in the form of short videos, blogs, infographics, free ebooks, just as many ways as you can give value to that target market, right? And we're going to go more into this in module 3, but this is where I want you to start thinking about some of the ways that you can start to give value out to your target market. Partnerships with other brands, other industries, other businesses that your target market already love and trust, because they're going to love and trust you through association. It really does work very effectively. Also, when you can start marketing on other, say, Facebook groups, other pages, websites that your target market hang out, highly effective. We post a lot around the country in a lot of different spiritual and wellness groups, and we get a massive return from that, which is awesome because it gets new people that come into our community as opposed to just simply marketing to friends of friends, So it is really, really effective as well, and you don't have to pay for it. As long as you have permission from the people that run those groups, usually it's all good. And there's a lot of groups these days that are actually like events that are for, people that are into spirituality, into wellness, into business, whatever it might be, that you can absolutely find by doing a little search on Google, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. There's so many different ways you can do that. One thing that I highly recommend is running at least one live event or workshop a month. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be a full day or a full weekend. It doesn't even need to be face-to-face, especially these days. You could do like an online event that goes for even just 1 hour, which is just a free event or like a very low investment. If you're first starting out, the 1 hour or 2 hour or 3 hour online events, I would pretty much run them for free, to be honest with you, if you're just starting out, because try before you buy is the oldest, I guess, sales technique, but the most effective. Because think about it, everything that you've ever probably bought, you've wanted to try before you buy. True or untrue? Yeah? You've wanted at some level to experience it, see it, touch it, feel it, hear from somebody, or like at least view something from that person, or at least know what you're about to buy. You want to try it before you buy it, or at least have a deep understanding about it. So generally people will work with your product or service when they get to have a try before they buy. So how can you create that is through live events, through like a masterclass or through an online, I guess, a seminar or something that you run. And why is that highly effective? Because people get to try before they buy. Then you can give them some sort of offer. They get to experience what you're like as an individual, what your product or your service or your business is all about. And from there, you can build the relationship. And from there, you can then start working together more professionally. And you can do that at scale. You can do that with, say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people at a time. And you can give them a taste and they can get value from that workshop they go. And the mental connection is, all right, well, I got so much value from that workshop. I really like the energy of this person. I really feel like I can really trust this person. I feel like there's a connection there. I want to do more business with this person. So highly effective. One a month might seem like, whoa, that's a fair bit. That's 12 a year, Ben. I was doing these pretty much every week when I first started, and it was high. And this is, face to face at one stage, and that's really how I built my business quickly, and then started running more online stuff as well, and then scaled it. And then scaled back to not running as regularly, but rather looking to go, how can I get more people in one space at one particular time? And it really, really works to build your branding, to build and to ultimately give people an experience of trying before they buy. Create courses, workshops, ebooks, hard copy books with your name and your business attached to it that you can kind of give for free. Is really, really powerful. Again, try before you buy, but they can be automated opposed to you having to run stuff. And then there can be some sort of call to action for that. But most important of all is walk your talk, and show vulnerability, even every now and again, and show that you're not perfect. So you can also connect with your target market. That's really important too. So utilizing features on social platforms like your Facebook story, Instagram story, just even your news feed, like show them a little bit about yourself. That's just not 100% business. And you can do that through your posts. You can do that through Facebook Lives. You can do that through your videos. You can do that through, a workout that you just did or a yoga session you just did, stuff that your target market is going to really connect with, but it shows them a little bit of an insight to who you are. Because we want to build connection, especially if you're in a service industry, you want to build connection with people that way as well. So people need to see you walking and talk, because one of the quickest ways for people not to work with you, you could have an amazing product, an amazing service, but if you don't walk your talk, people won't trust you. And if people don't trust you, they simply will not do business with you. It is as simple as that. So walking your talk, and just be congruent. So walk your talk as much as you possibly can. Awesome. So becoming an amazing content marketer, what does that look like? So becoming an amazing content marketer, when we're looking at the working definition, it is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, consistent, and relevant content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. Now, this is a bit the salesy term of it, but essentially it's about creating following. It's about giving value. You give value, value will come back. It's about giving people a try before they buy experience. But you always want to check your VCR, is what I'm calling it now, as a bit of an abbreviated way of remembering this term, because you really need to check in with this. And no, not a vodka, Coke, raspberry, not that sort of VCR. It's making sure that your content is valuable, it's consistent, and it's relevant to the people that you're speaking to your target market. Because without that, it doesn't mean anything to them. You want to be making the contact and going, you know what? If I was that perfect client that you're speaking to, this would really hit home for me. This would really help me. I could go and probably utilize this teaching or this method or this technique, and it would actually improve my life in some way. If you're doing that regularly, the rest is done. So we'll go into obviously more of looking at the offering and making sure that that's attractive to the person too. But you still need to have this ability to build a following, to build a community, especially if you're utilizing social media. But even online, without using SEO and stuff like that, your website, people are going to either buy from that or not buy from that based upon how well you've adjusted the imagery and the language and your products and service to suit your target market. So getting this stuff right is the foundation. You can have the best products, the best services, but you don't get this stuff right, you're going to be really struggling. So this is why I share this with you, because these are the foundations that are going to allow you to create for your client, for your perfect marketplace that you're looking to attract, opposed to you trying to create something that you think is perfect for them. It's about getting into their shoes, getting into their mindset. Awesome. So that brings us to a bit of a wrap for our second module. Today, hopefully, I've talked about a lot of stuff in terms of really attracting that perfect client. And really, maybe we're starting to get a better understanding of how we can start to communicate more effectively to those people and who that perfect avatar of that perfect client actually is. And that's really what I want you to do for tasking now too. I want you to create that perfect avatar or that perfect client and give them a name. Yeah. And really, maybe they already exist. Maybe that person you're already working with, and you're like, they're such a pleasure to work with. They are the absolute perfect client. But yeah, if that person doesn't exist in your world right now, give them a name and be really specific about this person. Like, tell me all of their details. Give them a full history, like a backstory, where they were, where they are now. Yeah, what they're interested in. What are they kind of like as a person to interact with? Yeah, because that is the person you're going to be writing to. That is the person you're going to be creating programs for. That is the person that you're looking to attract in terms of your imagery, in terms of your language. That's the person. So obviously it has to be within your niche, within your target market, but let's just create that avatar, because that will be all the difference. And in the next coming weeks, now what we're going to do is move into you putting yourself out there a little bit. Now, how can you start to give some value to your target market? It can be as simple as, just on some of the social platforms you're working with already, start doing a daily post. That might be every morning, that might be a quote. How easy? Go to Google, research some quotes on fitness or love or happiness or fulfillment or life, And guess what you'll find? Plenty of quotes that your target market, depending on who they are, obviously you'll adjust it, will resonate with. How long does it take to do that in the morning, guys? Maybe a minute maximum. So start being consistent with your marketing. Let's put a bit of a challenge out there that for every day this week, you're going to put a quote out. Every day, you're going to put a quote every morning out on your social platforms that that your target market will connect with. And here's another challenge for you. This week, I want you to do at least 2 videos. Now, you can choose to do them live, or you can choose to do them recorded if you like. I don't mind. But do this for yourself. 2 videos that go for no more than 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes for now. That is going to be giving some value to your target market. So if you're working, say, in the fitness industry, it might be a video about a little workout that you can do from home. And then the second video might be some ways that you can prep food for the week so that you're organized with your nutrition. And have a title that's catchy, like 5 tips to make sure that you're organized with your food prep for the week, or 5 tips to be able to work out at home, or 5 exercises that you could do from anywhere to make sure that you're getting a full body workout. Obviously apply it to your industry, but this week, I want you to do a post every day. That's just going to be in the morning. That's just going to be a quote that's going to attract your target market. It won't take you long. And I want you to film 2 videos that go no longer than 5 minutes that are going to give some value to your target market. Just get in the mindset of who that person is, and also write up your avatar and start delivering that. Start practicing this. And then when you move into module 3, we'll take this even deeper and give you some more strategies to work with. But let's start applying what we've learned, and then we'll keep layering it and get a little bit more strategic. But again, I've obviously spoken into module 2 and module 1 to give you the foundations, because without some of this knowledge, you can be applying all the strategy you like, but you're speaking to the wrong person. Or you're speaking to everyone, which means you're speaking to no one. So now that we have these foundations, we can start to go out and play with this. We can start to go out and give some value. And then we can look at, really the programs that we're creating now, and then start thinking about this. How are they going to be for that perfect client? How are they going to be essentially solving the problems and help give the solutions to the people that you're serving? So we will see you guys in module 3, where we're going to dive even deeper, but make sure you apply all of that that I spoke about for this tasking for module 2, and make sure that you also watch the videos that we have that's associated to the tasking for module 2 that you'll see clearly that will be there, and you make sure you watch them. You can listen to them in the car even as well. If you can't lay down and watch the videos themselves, they just link into YouTube. So super easy, that go a little bit deeper into time management, which I know that you'll love. But you'll see in after module 2, it says what the tasking is. So enjoy, and we'll see you guys in module 3. All right, guys, we'll see you then. Bye.